Welcome to you all to the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. I am Reverend Dr. Kate R. Walker, and I am so honored and delighted to serve as the minister of this wonderful community. It is Sunday, April 3rd of 2022. And we are so glad that you have chosen to be with us this morning, either here in person or on YouTube land, which means it might be a different time and a different space or a different planet that you're joining us. And we're delighted, absolutely delighted. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are from, you are welcome here. Whatever got you to get your stuff together this morning and show up, or just grab your cup of coffee and open your computer. We're glad you're here. We're a community dedicated to welcoming the stranger and dismantling the fabric of oppression wherever it has woven into our lives. I am live here in our sanctuary, but I am certainly not alone. There's a wonderful group of volunteers and staff who are here making this all happen for those who are in person and those out there in YouTube land. Now, if this is your very first time with us, thank you. Thank you for being here. We're delighted, and we want to be in touch with you. If you are on the internet, please, after the service, not before, after the service, just go to our website. Just Google First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. Down at the bottom of our main page, you'll find a form to sign up for our newsletter. We'd love to have you know what's going on in our community. And if you would like to join us for social hour, we have a Zoom-based social hour that's right following the service, so about 15 minutes toward the end, after the service has ended. And all you have to do is send an email to First Unitarian Pittsburgh, all one word, firstunitarianpittsburgh@gmail.com, and you'll get an automatic Zoom link for our online social hour. I want to invite you all, take a deep breath and arrive in body and spirit. Be present in this time, in this place, wherever you are. This is a community. Imagine yourself connected to one another across time and place, those you know and the beloved, and those you have yet to meet, both stranger and friend. Picture yourself across time, connected. We turn now to our chalice lighting. As our theme of the month for April is the earth, the great sustainer of all life. May this chalice and its light, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, kindle something bright and strong and resilient in you, something that taps into the trees' strength, to the vastness of the oceans, to the brightness of the sun. Inspire you to stay connected to our Mother Earth, to our siblings across this planet, the rocks, the trees, the waterfalls, the beauty, the insects, and all this fervent and sustaining life. May you feel rekindled. Our opening hymn, we're delighted to welcome and invite you to stand as you're able in body and spirit. It is 1067, Mother Earth. We are singing verses just 1, 4, and 5. 1, 4, and 5. Such a beautiful hymn, beautiful. So we have a special time for all people, This is the part where there may be some movement. I'm so grateful that our dance choir has agreed to lead us in both singing and some movement for hymn 301. This is just verse 2. So the first time through, they're going to show you the movements, and then we're all going to sing and dance through it 3 times. And I invite you shy adults, because the kids are going to be into this. I know it. The kids are going to be like, let me show you how it's done. For you shy adults, start to wiggle a little bit. Stand as you're able in body and spirit. And for the kids, today only, never again, but today only, if you want to stand on your pew, you go right ahead.
Stand on that pew, go right ahead. Okay, we'll begin all together with the words are touch the earth, reach the sky. So everybody just reach down, touch the earth, and reach the sky. Then, adults, you're going to follow Tori. Okay. Kids, you're going to follow Alice and me through this whole thing. Everybody, all the adults, have your hands on your heart now. The kids are on that second line are going to go, children, ask the reasons why. Put your hands up there. Then kids, keep your hands up there for the next line. Adults, make a circle like the sun rising and setting. In our lives, the answers show. And then everybody all together, and by our love, we learn like a measuring stick. We learn and grow. And you can get as tall as you want. Okay, so that's it. So we'll try putting it all together. Remember, adults, watch Tori. Kids, Alice and me.
That was going to be awesome. Thank you very much to Tori and Mary Pat and Alice and our singers, of course. We are going to sing our children out, and they're going to do a special program with our gardeners learning about planting of trees. So we're going to sing them out with 399, Everyone Neath the Vine and Fig Tree. And again, we have chosen this hymn as a tribute to the people of Ukraine. And kids, I think you are headed to the Schweitzer room, so right across the hall there, okay?
Everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And then to plowshares turn their souls, nations shall learn war no more. And into plowshares turn their swords, nations shall learn war no more. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And into plowshares turn
Our religious community is made up of volunteers and staff, creating and hosting a variety of programming, even as we stay safe during this continued time of pandemic. We rely on your financial support. Please take time to reflect on your ability to financially support this community. Donations by check may be mailed to the church office. Electronic donations may be made online through the church website or by texting GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the instructions. Each day we carry celebrations in our hearts. Maybe it's a big one like an anniversary or a birthday or a child born. Graduations are coming up. And each day we carry within us a breaking heart of those who have died of war, of betrayals, illness. It is so important that we stay connected to one another with these celebrations and with our sorrow. Finding ways to connect across these bridges of joy and sorrow is crucial to the strength of our community. Please know that none of us journey alone. Please reach out to someone and share. This strengthens relationship and friendship, builds resilience and intimacy. I also want to share for those who really feel compelled, which I think is everybody, to do something about Ukraine, that the Unitarian Universalist Association is strongly supporting our own Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. The Service Committee has managed to develop relationships with two organizations that are working on the ground in assisting refugees. They are partnered with two organizations. One is the Hungarian Helsinki Committee that's focusing on providing plain language legal advice to asylum seekers and civil society organizations. as well as combating racist and xenophobic narratives about the people that are in Hungary, very needed. And they've also teamed up with FemFund. It's partners with community groups assisting particularly the LGBTQI and Black and people of color seeking safety in Poland. These are our values being lived. I invite you to please go to the uusc.org website, and their money is being put directly, our money is being put directly to these organizations working on the ground. I invite you now to join me for a few moments of personal prayer and silence and meditation. Spirit of love, fill our hearts with your soothing notes of support and affirmation. Remind us of our strength and capacity to affect change in this world. Remind us that by our tears, we are staying connected with our humanity. Spirit of life, fill us with your sustenance. Strengthen us with resilience. Remind us to celebrate those moments when we find life is bursting forth. For by this we are reminded of why life is so precious. As we gaze upon oppression and injustice, as we hear the tears and the terror of our trans siblings, of all the people who are in awful situations in Ukraine, let our hearts break open and we are moved to take action, rebuilding this world with our love and commitment. We here in this space, or at home, or wherever we are a community of love and justice and beauty and talent. We are strengthened by one another. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Given the Trees by Sean Parker Dedison. I have been given the trees, silver snow glittering the black branches in the center of the courtyard, painting a gloss of moonlight over velvet night. I have been given something holy, shining in each and every moment of this day, the last one and the next, in my hair and the laughter of children. I have been given blossoms, blushing pale promises of sweetness in autumn, tender skin breaking, juice filling my mouth, and the moment with honey. I have been given so much, the odd small moments given to no one else, like an inside joke with life itself, known only to my most secret self, and I am not alone. I have been given so much, and now all I want to do is open my heart, allow the flowing and overflowing to be unstopped and unstoppable, generous, free. I have been given the tree, the season, blossom, and fruit, and this moment and the next. I have been given this life, and I will not stop giving and giving and giving back.
I love that reading. I love that reading. It was the early 1990s. I was in my mid-20s, and we had a plan. We had a plan. There was a group of us, and we were all camping some park service in southern Colorado, having a great time developing a plan. Most of us worked for Greenpeace, but there was a scattering of other people that had collected with us for an action. It was not a, endorsed Greenpeace action, but they really didn't care what we were up to. Our target was a forester who was not sustainably foresting his private land. He had thousands of acres, and the trees were coming down, but it wasn't sustainable. The locals had called us in for some help because nothing was impacting the private owner. It was a corporation, and they didn't care. So the plan was that the next day we would climb up to the logging roads, and we knew when the trucks were coming down. And a couple of us would go out in front and stop the logging truck and engage with the driver. And while the driver was stopped and engaged with us, two more would go in from behind and lock themselves to the underbelly of the truck. They had U-locks. And my job, not being one who is good on confrontation and certainly not locking myself to a truck, not my thing, my job as the former journalist was to get the journalists, the media up there. So we had a press release that was ready to go in the morning, and we would get them up there, and my job was to get it into the press. We had a plan. We all felt good about it when we went to bed that night. And the next morning, one of the locals came driving up to our campsite and told us that at the end of the day, just before we went to bed, one of the logging trucks said the brakes had gone out and he'd crashed. The driver was in the hospital in intensive care, and we knew we couldn't do our action. Completely inappropriate. And instead, we took a collection and sent it back into town for the family of the logger, because we knew he was out of job for a while and no income. We all went home, and that was that. The logging continued on that parcel of private land in southern Colorado. but we had tried to engage in an action, and that felt good. That felt like something. Felt like something. And with our theme of the month of Earth, I thought, in case it wasn't abundantly clear to you all, that I'm a tree hugger. I love trees. I'm a tree climber. I can't tell you how many trees I've fallen out of, even as an adult. I worship their height, their breadth, their grandeur, their strength, their beauty, their existence. And I'm not coming in as a pagan. I'm coming in as a lover of nature, as the wildness. I'm a mountain girl, folks. I really am. The beach is okay, but the mountains and the trees are where my heart and soul really take off. This was fed by family camping trips and hikes and fishing trips throughout my childhood. And within the city life, though, we noticed the trees as well. There was my mother's beloved dogwood in the front yard. And in our church, at First Unitarian Church of Providence, there was a dogwood that was right outside the window next to the pulpit. And during the prayers in my father's boring sermons, I would worship the dogwood. This year in DC, I really missed seeing the cherry blossoms. I would bike down early in the morning and join the other blossom worshipers, dancing amongst their delicate pink beauty. Sean Parker Dennison, in that beautiful poem, said, "We have been given the blossoms. We have been given the blossoms, and oh, so much." I remember the first time I met a redwood. Have you ever met a redwood? Sequoia sempervirens, California tallest trees on earth. Soaring skyscrapers, they've been measured at almost 380 feet without their roots, straight up into the atmosphere, living testimony of history in its whole body, 1,200 to 2,200 years old. Rings of ancient stories, some of them up to 30 feet in diameter. There's been some because of fires. The trees have lived on, but holes were left in them, and you can drive through them in your little car. They have thick bark and soft, fibrous interior. They have a shallow root system spreading out, connecting with other redwoods in their community. I think that description reminds me of some humans I know. Thick bark, soft, fibrous interior, shallow root system connecting out to others. And like a lot of other trees, the redwoods are part of a unique ecosystem. Douglas fir, Pacific madrone, tan oak, and western hemlock, along with a variety of ferns and mosses and mushrooms and redwood sorrel. They are fed by seasonal rains and a fog drip system that is something to be experienced. Can you feel the dampness? If you start to imagine, if you've ever been in a redwood forest, Muir Woods, across from San Francisco, you can smell the moss, feel the rough bark on your fingertips. And if you look up, you can see the top gently swaying in the blue sky. And breathe deeply. For this is life, everlasting. Redwoods is one of the most valuable in the timber industry for their resilience, their fire resistance, their lightweight, and they're beautiful. American homes have been built with redwood, and this country, our railroad ties and trestles are redwoods. Our country has been built upon redwoods. We have been given this incredible moments in bark and needles that are piercing into the sky. Last week, I met the angel oak. The angel oak in South Carolina. It's estimated to be 300 to 400 years old, completely different than the redwood. It's a live oak, and the branches go out around its perimeter and its complex design. Some have to slip down into the ground for a little while, and it reemerges as it reaches out further into the world. Some of the branches go straight up, and some, they're so weighted that they have to have poles from human beings to help support their weight. The live oaks keep their leaves year-round, no shedding of that beauty at all, and their muscular root system supports its existence. No cutting allowed. I was so dismayed by the number of signs that have to be put up all around the angel oak, reminding people to not carve into the bark. Why would we put a knife into the living beauty of another entity of such grandeur? Denison wrote, "We have been given something holy. The branches reaching out and across the land and into our hearts. It's a metaphor of an interconnected life. Yes, our seventh principle of the interdependent web." My dear friend and Unitarian Universalist colleague, Gail Collins-Ranadivi, she is a writer, and she offers lessons about reading nature as text. That we read nature as text through our 5 senses. Senses of instinct, intuition, imagination, inspiration, and insight. Images from nature can be our spiritual companions. My spiritual companion, if you haven't guessed yet, are trees. I told my husband we were looking for a house. It has to have a tree. Hopefully lots of trees. And it's not a tree, trees, plural. That is how I read life as my text. For many of us humans, nature and trees included, it's an invitation into our reflection about our short human existence on this earth and how it's put into perspective. Trees are sentinels, standing watch cycles of human progress, our idiocy, and our cruelty. It's an invitation to reflect and shift our perspective again and again, and each moment that we do so, each moment that we silently sit under or hug or gaze upon a dogwood, a cherry blossom, a red oak, or a live oak, is an invitation for asking, who am I and how do I exist in this world? And right now, we need to do some major asking. We're in an era of massive climate destruction. We need to listen to that invitation to engage in that reflection and take action. Take action. We are being called to in action, multiple actions. The trees are offering a fundamental shift in perspective, a paradigm shift about who we are and how we live on this planet. Ranadivi, my friend, wrote back in 1999, "Reviving relationship with the natural world is the religious task for our time." You don't have to be an avid outdoor person, love camping, or even enjoy a walk in the woods to know the truth of that statement. Even today, over 20 years later, reviving relationship with the natural world is the religious task for our time. We have been given something holy and shining, said Denison in his poem. Recently, naturalists have shown us a plan, a reviving, a reorientation, an inspiration that is a gift from the holy and shining trees. Two amazing books that I hope you, if you haven't read these, you will soon. One came out in 2015, The Hidden Life of Trees. What they feel, how they communicate, discoveries from a secret world by Peter Wohlleben. In 2018, there was The Overstory by Richard Powers. I brought you a copy. An amazing book. And what we are learning is that trees are not a forest of strong individuals any more than this is a community of strong individuals. There's a reflection of our obsession with the myth of individualism. The forests are communities of trees engaging in mutual aid. A relationship of co-cultivation through a wickerwork of roots in a vital and energized subterranean world. We've learned that the forests contain massive upper canopies where more than half of the planet's terrestrial animals live. We've learned about a lively, fluctuating interaction that is strategic, that can impact the planet's weather systems like 1,000 butterflies. We've learned that there are signals given when danger is present. We've learned about the sacrifice of ancient mother trees to support young saplings' need for carbon. We've learned it's not about solitary survival, it's about investment in the well-being of the whole. In our human reflection, as we sit or hug or gaze at a tree, it's not about our narcissistic, ego-driven need for affirmation of our individual experience and existence. We are being called forth in a powerful image of community resilience. We are called forth not for our own individual salvation. That's just another manifestation of the myth of individualism. Unitarian Universalists, we are being called to remember our Unitarian Universalist sixth resource. Our sixth resource, the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. The teachings of the earth are showing us a networked, sensitive, companion, communicative existence. That's the beloved community. That's the beloved community the trees have been showing us for centuries. But we're not listening, looking, feeling it. The crisis of our time demands more often that we put down our personal needs, set them aside, set aside our fears of personal survival, and claim and recognize that we are morally obligated for mutual aid. It's a paradigm shift, folks, which means it's not easy. We'd rather sit back and take the easy route. But the trees have shown us the roadmap. When I was reading The Overstory, I would occasionally pause and look out the window as my heart and my soul were being burned into a new existence with these words. I knew my worldview was shifting, and as I looked at the window and I looked at the trees, I looked at them differently. My lens was shifting in profound and powerful ways. how my reading of this text in front of me had changed. I was reading nature as given me the image that I, as a minister, had been trying to create. The text was changing everything for me. The text in the book and the text of the trees. And when I tell you that we need to take action to save this planet, I'm going to say that. We need to take action to save this planet. Some of you may feel a pit in the stomach, maybe a tension in the lower back or the shoulders. You may suddenly realize you have a long list of things to do sitting on the counter waiting for you. Some of you may have squirrel brain and you realize you have something and somewhere else to do. That's a symptom of feeling overwhelmed, inadequate, powerless, as not being able, as you, the individual, to save the planet. I suggest to you that your paradigm shift hasn't happened yet. That needs to happen. You're still seeing yourself as an I alone, as an individual tree. We're in a forest, my friends. We're in a forest. Always have been, always will be. This paradigm shift is about dismantling the myth of individualism, which I need to point out is embedded within white supremacy culture. It's a very strategic way to keep groups from building as allies, as partners. If we keep seeing ourselves as individuals, we disempower the community. Nature is showing us a different way. Denison said, "I have been given this life and I will not stop giving and giving and giving back." So as we reflect upon the forest and the call to action, I want to remind you about an important part of Unitarian history. That is the Transcendentalists. The Transcendentalists of Boston, they had a huge impact from the 19th century because of Henry David Thoreau's adventures at Walden Pond, because of Ralph Waldo Emerson's publication of Nature, because of the heretical views and teachings of Unitarian minister Reverend George Ripley. They formed the first Transcendentalist Club in September of 1836, and the impact, the ripple, was immediate. They actually didn't call themselves Transcendentalists. They called themselves members of the New School. Not much of a PR thing, I know. Members of the New School. Transcendentalists was the insult slung at them by the conservatives of their time who said they were heretics. They were extravagant, impractical, supernatural, vague, lacking in common sense. And I will tell you, if you've ever lived in New England and somebody accuses you as lacking common sense, that is a serious insult. These extravagant heretics spawned our country's first environmental movement. Because of their writings, because of their talks, particularly Thoreau, they became agents of change. They inspired John Muir, Stuart Udall, George Perkins Marsh, and Gifford Pinchot, amongst others. And in turn, we had the Sierra Club, the U.S. Forest Service, National Audubon Club, Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the whole national park system. And they also took a stab at dismantling another myth, the myth of abundance, which the whole great Western frontier was built upon. When a tree is planted, it connects to other trees and to the rest of the ecosystem. And the paradigm shift for us silly humans is to see that we do not live in isolation. Our roots are constantly connecting and protecting and communicating. And we need to be driven by the view of mutual aid. We are not saving this planet alone. We are connected across time to our new, what were they? The members of the new school, the Transcendentalists. We are connected across time, across the lands and the waters and the forests and into the future. My hope, my inspiration right now is actually coming from the next generation of nonviolent resistors and activists. Have you heard about the Sunrise Movement? Google these folks, go to their website, Sunrise Movement. They are powerful young activists who know their capacity as agents of change. They're the ones that helped make the new Green Deal get the media attention it desperately needed. They're the ones that changed the conversation in DC with Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and President Biden. They did that by showing up and refusing to leave. And do you know where they got their model? This I absolutely love. The Sunrise Movement looked to history and they figured out who had the best model for activism. And it's the civil rights movement from the 50s and the 60s. Our generations are passing it on. This younger generations, they know about environmental racism and they know that they are all connected. They don't need a paradigm shift today. However, I suspect they're going to get one in about 20 or 30 years when the next generation comes along and challenges the current generation, because that's how we do it. That's how we do it. Our roots go deep into this soil, my beloved community. We need to live long and reemerge into the present with our stories and our lessons and our hope revived. Denison said, "I have been given this life and I will not stop giving and giving and giving back." You do have an opportunity to take one small, big step. At our May annual meeting, you'll be invited on whether or not whether or not this community takes a commitment to action and looking at and learning about and taking action on environmental racism as a whole community, not a small community, a whole community of commitment. And I hope you take that very seriously. I hope you see it as a call to action, that we'll have a plan and we'll put it into place, and that this is part of our moral imperative of our recognition of the existence of community for constant mutual aid. So my charge is to remind you you're alive, your roots are active, your branches are gifts out there in this world. So how are you giving back? How are you helping save this planet? What action are you willing to take? Maybe you're willing to lock yourself to the bottom of a logging truck. Maybe you're willing to block the logging truck. Maybe you're willing to talk to the press. Maybe you're willing to take a collection for those who are hurting in this world. All of us are needed. May it be so, my beloved. Amen.
Boundless my soul, like the
I invite you to bring your voices together as we extinguish our chalice. The words are found in the order of service as well as our hearts, words that are said by Unitarian Universalist churches throughout the country on Sunday mornings. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth into the world, my beloved. Go forth into the world and look upon the trees and stop and pause. Look deeply, for they have so much to teach us. And then commit to taking action. Return again in love. Dance your way through life. Be blessed. Thank you, Mary and Danny. Thank you so much for being our guests this morning. Wonderful. Thank you to our dance group and to Ellen. Thank you so much. Thank you to our and our tech wizards.